school system will now accept a new form of identification for a number of school functions. New Hanover County Schools announced their partnership with FaithAction ID Network. FaithAction ID is an organization that helps people receive identification cards who may not have access to government-issued forms of ID. Those people include those recently returning from jail, homeless individuals, the elderly, refugees, and new immigrants. A social media post made by New Hanover County Schools states FaithAction IDs will be accepted for limited purposes, such as enrolling kids in school, check-in at the front offices, and picking up children early from school. They would not replace background checks when required for Level 2 volunteers.